So today we will be discussing about the salivary glands, right? So basically we are having two type of glands, exocrine gland and endocrine, right? So salivary gland is basically the type of exocrine gland. What does that mean? It means that it will release its chemical, or you can say hormones, by the means of duct. It will release it by the help of duct. And what does endocrine means? It means ductless. Like it will release its own hormones directly into the blood, right? So salivary glands are the exocrine glands, right? So basically we are having three types of salivary glands. So we are having three types of salivary glands. So the first is known as parotid gland. Parotid gland, right? Number second is submaxillary or submandible. Submaxillary or submandible. Submandible, right? Submaxillary or submandible salivary gland. Number third is sublingual salivary gland, right? So basically we are having three types of salivary glands and they all are six, right? Total number is six. Like how they are present in pairs, like there are two pairs, like there are two of parotid gland, two submaxillary and two sublingual, right? So total there will be six. So now let me show you the location of each of these salivary glands, right? So I hope this is clear. In this video you can easily see that this here the parotid gland is present. Where it is present? It is present below the auditory capsule area. Ear, you can say that it is present below the earlobe. It is present. Parotid gland is present below the earlobe. Now where is actually submaxillary located? So it is located over here. Okay, you will be wondering that why it is known as submandibular and submaxillary too. So the reason is this upper jaw is known as maxilla and this is known as mandible, right? It is present here in the mid between this, right? So that's why it is known as submandibular or submaxillary gland, right? And here we are having another gland which is known as sublingual. Okay, why it is known as sublingual? It means that it is present below the tongue. You can see this is tongue, right? And it is present below the tongue. It is present below the tongue. So that's why it's known as sublingual gland, submandibular and parotid gland. So now let us discuss the first gland, which is parotid gland, right? Number first, which is parotid gland. So basically there are two in number, right? And they are present below the auditory capsule ear. It is present below the earlobe. You can simply say this. Okay, obviously I said that it is a pituitary gland which is exocrine, so there will be a duct related to this, right? The name of that duct is known as Stenson's duct. Stenson's duct. I can show you this. Okay, if you look at this diagram again, what is happening? Why can't I erase it? Okay, let me take another diagram over here. Okay, I hope now it's clear to you. Okay, this. I was talking about this. Okay, this duct. This is known as Stenson's duct. This is known as Stenson's duct, a duct which is connecting the parotid gland to the mouth. Obviously, the saliva, the work of these salivary glands is to produce saliva, and this saliva will be secreted in the mouth through the duct which is known as Stenson's duct, right? And the length of this Stenson's duct is 5 centimeter. The length of this Stenson's duct is 5 centimeter. Okay, where does it actually opens, right? It opens in upper jaw to second molar. It opens at second molar. So this is basically the location where that Stenson's duct actually open. So actually it is, okay, the most important thing according to MCQ is that it is the largest salivary gland. It is the largest salivary gland. It is the largest salivary gland, and it contributes, despite of being it is the largest, it only contributes 25% of the saliva. It only contributes to 25% of saliva, despite being that it is the largest salivary gland, but it only contributes 25%. So actually it contains serous cells. Basically there are two types of cells. Like, first let's talk about the generally two types of cells, serous and other is mucin cells, right? The work of, it's quite pretty obvious that mucin means mucus, right? Over serous, it will release an enzyme plus water, right? They will release enzyme. Basically they will release enzyme. We won't say water. The water will be released over here, right? So basically it contains serous cells, right, which produce enzyme. The name of that enzyme is salivary amylase. The name of that enzyme is known as salivary amylase. Now, what is the work of amylase? Let us understand this thing first, right? Okay, basically amylase, which is also known as stylin. This is they can ask you in the MCQs that what is the another name of salivary. Okay, must mention here salivary because there's another enzyme which is secreted after the salivary glands, and it is also known as amylase. So here we will put salivary amylase. Okay, the salivary amylase breaks down. It actually breaks down starch. It breaks down starch and starch will be broken down into maltose. It will be broken down into maltose, which is basically a disaccharide. Okay, let me discuss the complete process. And this maltose will again be broken down with the help of enzyme maltase, which will be secreted in the small intestine. Maltase, and then it will break into 2 glucose, which is a monosaccharide, So basically in mouth, the salivary amylase is responsible to break down starch into the maltose, right? So this serous cells produce enzyme known as salivary amylase, right? And they also secrete water too. Yeah, water is also present over there. Water is also secreted. Okay, then it also, in some research paper, it is written that they also produce lipase, but it is not authentic. It's not written in any book, right? So now let us discuss about okay, basically there is a disease known as mumps, right? Maybe you have heard about the word M, you have heard about the word MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella. So what happens in this disease? This is a viral disease basically. The parotid gland, the parotid gland basically swells. So the swelling of parotid gland is known as mumps, and it is a viral disease, and there is vaccine, or you can say, yeah, this vaccine is also available over here, and we usually give them to the children who are just born, right? So I hope the concept of parotid gland is clear to you. Now we will talk about submaxillary or submandibular gland, right? Now let us talk about second gland, which is submaxillary or submandibular gland, right? So first let us talk about the location. It is present between the junction of upper jaw and lower jaw, right? It is present between the junction of upper jaw and the lower jaw. So it is also connected with a tube, or you can say duct, which is known as Watson's duct. The duct is known as Watson's duct. Okay, where it actually where this Watson's duct open in mouth? So it opens in lower jaw incisors, right? It will open in the lower jaw incisors. Lower jaw incisors. Okay, this is not a smallest gland, not a largest gland, but still, parotid being the largest, it only contributes 25% of the saliva, and it contributes 75% of the saliva, right? Okay, basically, I have talked before that there are two types of cells: serous cells and the mucus cell or mucin cells, right? So basically it secretes mucin, right? There is mucus cells. There are mucus cells which release mucin. And what does they release? They release mucus. They release mucus. And what does that mucus contain? Basically, they contain carbohydrate, which will be 80%, right? They contain carbohydrate, they contain protein, 20%. They contain mucus, they contain water, and they contain, like, the carbohydrate plus protein is known as glycoprotein, right? Basically they contain glycoprotein, right? And they also secrete some salts, like sodium chloride ions, hydrogen carbonate, right? Basically there are two types of salts, organic and inorganic. These both are involved in this, right? So now let us discuss the sublingual gland, which is the, okay, let me tell you the location over here. Okay, you can see over here that here the submandibular gland is present, and here, okay, this is, you can see this is known as Watson's duct. Okay, Watson's duct. Okay, this is the Watson's duct, right? So I hope the location is clear to you. Now we will talk about the third one, which is sublingual gland. We'll talk about sublingual gland. Okay, basically it is the smallest gland, right? It is the smallest gland. It only contributes 5% of saliva. Okay, and the duct of sublingual is known as duct of Revenus, or you can say Bartholin's duct, right? Say this, Bartholin's duct, and it also opens in vagina too. So this, like, these both are the names. Like it, like sometimes it's known as duct of Venus, and other time it is also known as Bartholin's duct. So it contributes 5% of the saliva, and it contains mucin, mucus cells, basically mucus cells, and which secretes mucus, right? It secretes mucus, and it secretes no enzyme, but no enzymes are secreted. Like the enzymes are only secreted by submandibular. No enzymes are there, right? No enzymes are over here. Okay, it is present below the tongue, and it also produces glycoprotein and water. It produces, like, it is containing mucin cells. What they will produce? They will produce glycoprotein and water, but it will not produce any type of enzyme, right? Okay, basically there is another enzyme known as lysosome, or no, lysosome is the original, basically lysozyme, okay, which is responsible which is known as antibacterial, what the work of this lysozyme is that it degrades bacterial cell wall. It degrades bacterial cell wall. So now from where it is actually produced, like, okay, actually the Watson's duct, the duct of which is duct of submandibular duct, it have many projections. Like Watson's duct, it has like 20 projections, right? So when this, the major one projection, the major one combines with duct of Rivinus, combines with duct of Rivinus. The major one will combine with the duct of Rivinus, and they will combine together. They will come at the tip of tongue, and they will produce the enzyme known as lysozyme, right? Now they will produce, basically they will, the Watson's duct and the duct of Rivinus combine together, and they will, like, they will come at tip of tongue, and they will produce the enzyme known as lysozyme, which is responsible for the antibacterial activity in order to degrade the bacterial cell wall. Okay, we know that the sublingual gland, like the sublingual gland contain, like, it has a duct known as duct of Rivinus. Okay, now this duct of Rivinus open at, where does this Rivinus open at? It opens at lingual frenulum. And I have talked about this frenulum in my previous video. In the video of mouth, I have talked about that it is like ligamentous structure is over there. This is known as lingual frenulum. So now what's the purpose of mucus? So the purpose of mucus is lubrication. Okay, basically, like a human body, like a human releases saliva of up to 1.2 liter to 1.5 liter per day, like per, this is the per day secretion, right? 1.2 liter to 1.5 liter. And now let's just discuss the pH. Like, what is the pH of saliva? The pH of saliva is 6.8, right? The pH of saliva is 6.8, and it is like, it is slightly acidic. It is slightly acidic. The pH of saliva is slightly acidic. Okay, there's another gland, but it is like, it is not written in any book. It is based on the research paper, which is like, let me tell you the name of that gland. Is something von Adner gland. Like, it is not written in any book, but it's based on the research papers. Okay, now let us discuss the composition of saliva, right? It contains water, first of all, like 95%, right? And it contains enzymes, amylase, Salivary amylase. It contains lysozyme, right? It contains salts. It contains mucus. It contains glycoprotein. Like, these are some. This is the composition of water. This is the composition of saliva. Okay, so basically, like in the saliva of pig and human, the enzyme amylase, salivary amylase is present, but in this, like in the saliva of carnivorous animals and the domestic animals, right? In the saliva of domestic animals plus carnivores, the amylase is not present. The amylase is not present, right? The in the saliva of domestic animals and the carnivores, the human saliva is not present, but it is present in the pig saliva and the human saliva, the salivary amylase. So I hope the concept, like the salivary